The crimson dust of Mars swirled against the reinforced windows of mining station Gamma 7. Sarah Chen, chief mining engineer, squinted through the haze at the peculiar readings on her terminal. The deep core sensors were picking up something that shouldn't be there. Energy signatures unlike anything their equipment had detected before. "Harrison, are you seeing this?" Sarah called out to her assistant, who was monitoring the secondary systems. The young engineer's face reflected the soft blue glow of his screens as he leaned forward, brow furrowed in concentration. "Yeah, and I don't like it one bit. These patterns, they're not natural, Sarah, and they're getting stronger." The Mars colony had been humanity's greatest achievement, a testament to perseverance and ingenuity. What had started as a small research outpost had grown into a network of interconnected mining stations, processing facilities, and habitation domes. 2,000 souls called this harsh red world home, extracting valuable minerals that helped fuel Earth's growing economy. A low rumble shook the station, sending tools clattering to the floor. Sarah steadied herself against her console, heart racing. The vibrations weren't coming from their mining operations. They were coming from below. "Emergency protocols, now," she shouted, hitting the station-wide alert. Red warning lights bathed the control room in an eerie glow as klaxons blared through the complex. They had drilled for emergencies countless times. Marsquakes, pressure failures, dust storms. But something told Sarah this was different. The rumbling intensified, and then the unthinkable happened. The bedrock beneath Station Gamma 7 burst upward, revealing a massive crystalline structure that seemed to emerge from the depths of Mars itself. Its surface was smooth and dark, reflecting the pale sunlight with an otherworldly sheen. "My God," Harrison whispered, his face pale. "We're not alone." Before Sarah could respond, every screen in the control room flickered and went dark. When they came back to life, they displayed a single message in flowing, alien script that somehow translated itself before their eyes. "Primitive species, he tiki ctd. Initiating QONTANMENT and ASCSSMENT protogseols." Sarah's mind raced. Their station housed 300 people, miners, engineers, support staff, and their families. They were isolated, far from the main colony hub, with limited defensive capabilities. But they weren't helpless. "Harrison, initiate emergency lockdown. Get everyone to the secure shelters. And send a warning to Central Command. If these things are here, other stations might be in danger too." The young engineer's fingers flew across his keyboard, but the systems weren't responding. "They're in our network somehow. Everything's locked out." A brilliant light flooded the station as multiple objects descended from the Martian sky. They were ships, but unlike anything human eyes had ever seen. Geometric shapes that seemed to defy physics, their surfaces rippling like liquid metal. "They think we're primitive," Sarah said, a determined edge in her voice. "Let's show them how wrong they are. Harrison, get me the emergency manual overrides. If they want to test us, they're about to learn something about human resourcefulness." The alien ships surrounded the station, their presence an unspoken threat. But Sarah Chen and her crew weren't about to surrender their home without a fight. They had conquered Mars itself, its bitter cold, its toxic atmosphere, its deadly dust storms. These invaders were just one more challenge to overcome. As the first alien boarding parties breached the station's outer doors, Sarah was already putting her plan into motion. The miners of Gamma 7 might not have advanced weapons or sophisticated defenses, but they had something just as valuable: knowledge of their environment, years of experience surviving in hostile conditions, and most importantly, the stubborn determination that had allowed humanity to reach for the stars in the first place. The aliens were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humans. On Mars, every day was a fight for survival. And the people of Gamma 7 were very, very good at surviving. The battle for Mars was about to begin, and humanity's first contact with alien life wouldn't go at all as the invaders had planned. The mining tunnels beneath Gamma 7 echoed with the sound of heavy footsteps as Sarah led her group through the darkness. They moved with practiced efficiency, their helmet lights cutting through the gloom. Behind them, the distant sounds of alien technology pulsed through the station's upper levels. "They've taken the main control center," Harrison reported through their secure radio channel, an old backup system that ran on separate frequencies from the station's main communications. "But they haven't found the subsystem controls yet." Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens might have superior technology, but they didn't understand the complexity of running a Mars mining operation. Every system had backups. Every backup had redundancies, and every redundancy had manual overrides. It was how you survived on Mars, where equipment failure meant death. "Status report from all sections," she commanded, her voice steady despite the pressure bearing down on them. "Engineering team in position at the geothermal taps," came one response. "Maintenance crews ready at pressure control," reported another. "Mining teams standing by at all major tunnel junctions," a third voice confirmed. The aliens had expected to find a primitive species, easy to subdue. Instead, they found themselves dealing with humans who had spent generations learning to survive in one of the most hostile environments imaginable. Every member of the station knew how to handle multiple emergencies, how to improvise with limited resources, how to turn the harsh Martian environment itself into an advantage. Sarah reached a junction in the tunnels and placed her hand against the rock wall, feeling the vibrations from the alien ships that had landed on the surface. Their very presence was affecting the delicate balance of systems that kept the station running, systems that Sarah and her crew understood intimately. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Across the station's underground network, her people sprang into action. The engineering team began manipulating the geothermal controls, causing sudden temperature fluctuations that played havoc with the aliens' sensitive equipment. Maintenance crews adjusted pressure levels in different sections, creating zones that were impossible for the invaders to navigate without their protective suits. The aliens' superior technology meant nothing if they couldn't use it effectively. Every corridor became a potential trap. Every system they tried to control worked against them in subtle ways that only experienced Mars colonists would understand. "They're trying to override the environmental controls," Harrison reported, monitoring the situation through emergency backup systems. "But they can't figure out why nothing responds the way they expect." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. The station's systems had evolved over years of adaptation to Mars' unique challenges. What looked like inefficiency to an advanced civilization was actually carefully planned redundancy, vital for survival in an environment that never forgave mistakes. The aliens responded with increasing frustration, deploying more of their advanced technology to try to subdue the station. But for every system they managed to control, 3 more seemed to malfunction in inexplicable ways. Doors sealed randomly, atmospheric processors created localized storms of red Mars dust, and mining equipment activated at unexpected moments. "They're spreading themselves thin," Sarah observed, watching through surveillance cameras that ran on independent power sources. Time for Phase 2. The mining teams moved into position, their knowledge of the tunnel network allowing them to outmaneuver the alien search parties. Years of drilling through Martian rock had taught them how sound traveled through the station's structure. They used this knowledge to misdirect the invaders, leading them into areas where the humans held every advantage. Small victories began to accumulate. An alien search party found itself trapped in a depressurized section. Another group's advanced sensors were rendered useless by carefully controlled electromagnetic pulses from the mining equipment. The invaders' frustration was evident in their increasingly aggressive attempts to regain control. But Sarah knew they couldn't keep this up forever. Their resources were limited, and the aliens' technology was still far superior. They needed to do more than just resist. They needed to find a way to push back. "Harrison," she called over the radio, "what have you learned about their systems?" The young engineer had been analyzing the aliens' attempts to interface with the station's technology. They rely heavily on quantum computing and neural networks. Advanced stuff, but there's something interesting. Their systems seem vulnerable to certain types of electromagnetic interference, the kind our deep core drills generate. A plan began to form in Sarah's mind. The aliens had superior technology, but they had never faced humans fighting on their own terms, in an environment they had spent generations learning to survive. All teams, prepare for Phase 3, she announced. We're going to show these invaders exactly what happens when you back humans into a corner. Above them, the alien ships continued to hover over the station, their presence an ominous reminder of the overwhelming technological gap between the two species. But in the tunnels below, humanity was about to prove that technology wasn't everything. Sometimes, survival came down to grit, ingenuity, and the stubborn refusal to give up. The message that reached Earth was fragmented and brief, transmitted through emergency channels moments before the aliens locked down all standard communications. But those few seconds of data were enough to galvanize humanity into action. The response was immediate and unprecedented. Old rivalries were set aside as nations united against an extraterrestrial threat. In low Earth orbit, Dr. Amara Santos watched the military vessels being retrofitted with experimental technology. As head of Earth's Advanced Defense Research Division, she had spent years studying theoretical alien encounters. Now theory was becoming reality. The Mars colonists are buying us time, she explained to the assembled military leaders. Their resistance has forced the aliens to focus on a single mining station instead of expanding their invasion. But we need to move fast. The holographic display showed the latest analysis of the alien ship's capabilities, pieced together from the limited data they had received. Their technology was far advanced, but it wasn't magic. It followed rules, had limitations, and most importantly, could be understood. The colonists' improvised tactics have revealed something crucial, Amara continued. These aliens rely heavily on quantum-based systems that are surprisingly vulnerable to certain types of interference. They've never faced an enemy that would use industrial mining equipment as weapons. Back on Mars, Sarah Chen and her crew were still holding out. They had turned their mining station into a fortress, using their knowledge of Martian geology to create constant challenges for the invaders. Every tunnel was a potential trap, every system a possible weapon. The aliens had expected to find primitive beings cowering in crude shelters. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that treated their advanced technology as just another problem to solve. When their neural interfaces failed to crack the station's backup systems, they encountered humans who were perfectly comfortable using manual controls. When their energy weapons overloaded power grids, they discovered that the colonists had prepared for far worse disasters. Harrison's voice crackled over the emergency channel. They're bringing in some kind of new equipment. Looks like they're done playing nice. Sarah watched through hidden cameras as the aliens deployed devices that began to systematically counter their defensive measures. The invaders were learning, adapting to human tactics. But so were the humans. They still think this is about technology, Sarah responded. They don't understand that we've spent generations learning to survive here. Every Martian child knows how to repair a pressure suit. Every worker can calculate atmospheric compositions in their head. We don't just use our equipment, we understand it, down to the smallest detail. The aliens' frustration became increasingly evident as they encountered resistance that seemed to come from the very environment itself. Martian dust, notorious for destroying equipment, somehow affected their systems more severely than the humans. Atmospheric pressure variations that the colonists navigated instinctively caused their advanced sensors to give false readings. But Earth wasn't just watching and waiting. Amara's team had been analyzing every piece of data from the conflict, developing countermeasures that combined human ingenuity with the latest technology. The aliens might have quantum computers and neural networks, but humans had something potentially more valuable: the ability to think laterally, to use tools in ways they were never designed for. The first wave of ships will reach Mars in 72 hours, Amara announced to her team. We're not bringing just weapons, we're bringing solutions that no advanced civilization would expect. mining lasers modified to penetrate their shields, construction robots reprogrammed for combat, industrial electromagnetic pulse generators that can disrupt their quantum systems. The aliens had made a critical mistake in their assessment of humanity. They had seen the technological gap between their civilizations and assumed it meant humans were primitive. They hadn't understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology. It was the innovative spirit that had allowed them to survive and thrive in environments they were never meant to inhabit. As Earth's forces prepared for their first interplanetary military operation, Sarah and her crew continued their resistance. They had started something unprecedented, showing the galaxy that humanity wasn't just another primitive species to be conquered or studied. They were survivors, innovators, and now they would become warriors. The aliens were about to learn that humanity's response to existential threats wasn't to cower or surrender, but to rise to the challenge, to adapt, to overcome. Earth was coming, not just with ships and weapons, but with the combined ingenuity and determination of a species that had never let impossible odds stop them before. The Martian sky burned with new stars as Earth's fleet emerged from their high-velocity approach. The alien vessels above Gamma 7 shifted formation, their liquid metal surfaces rippling with what might have been surprise. They had detected no signs of Earth's response until the ships were almost upon them. Humanity's first gift of deception. Dr. Amara Santos stood on the bridge of the EDS Prometheus, watching as her theoretical defenses faced their first real test. The ship's hull was coated with a metamaterial developed from Mars mining waste, worthless for Earth industries, but perfect for absorbing the quantum scanning signals the aliens relied upon. All ships, execute pattern Delta, she ordered. The fleet moved with precision, deploying in a formation that looked chaotic to ancient military doctrine, but perfectly countered the aliens' sensor technology. Every ship's movement was calculated to exploit the weaknesses Sarah Chen's resistance had revealed. On the surface, Sarah and her crew felt the vibrations of the space battle above. The aliens had diverted forces to deal with Earth's attack, reducing pressure on the mining station. It was the opportunity they'd been waiting for. Begin Operation Ground Shock, Sarah commanded through the emergency channel. Throughout the station's tunnel network, mining crews activated their deep core drills simultaneously. The vibrations they generated weren't random. They were precisely calculated to interfere with the quantum field harmonics the aliens used for everything from communications to weapons targeting. In orbit, the alien ships stumbled. Their perfect formation wavered as sensor networks crashed and neural interfaces overloaded. Earth's vessels pressed the advantage, launching salvos of hybrid weapons, conventional missiles wrapped in quantum-disrupting fields, their targeting systems a blend of AI and human intuition. Their technology isn't failing, Amara observed, watching the battle unfold. It's being overwhelmed by complexity they never planned for. Their systems are too perfect, too reliant on predictable quantum states. They never considered that someone would deliberately create chaos in those states. The alien commander's response came as a transmission that rippled across all frequencies. Your primitive tactics cannot overcome superior technology. Surrender now and your species will be preserved for study. Amara's reply was simple. You still don't understand what you're facing. She activated the next phase of humanity's defense. From the Earth ships, swarms of small drones emerge. Modified Mars mining robots, their simple but robust systems immune to quantum interference. They carried no weapons, but they didn't need to. Their purpose was to spread clouds of specially engineered Martian dust, processed to maximize its disruptive effect on the aliens' sensitive equipment. The alien ships' perfect surfaces began to degrade as the dust worked its way into their systems. Their energy weapons flickered and failed as quantum fields collapsed. Their neural networks, designed for clarity and precision, couldn't handle the chaotic input from failing sensors. Below, Sarah led her people in the final push to reclaim their station. The aliens' ground forces found their advanced weapons and armor worse than useless as the humans employed mining tools in ways their designers had never imagined. Industrial lasers, meant for cutting rock, proved devastatingly effective against alien shield technology. Pressure doors, cycled in carefully timed sequences, created zones of rapidly changing atmospheric pressure that the invaders' environmental systems couldn't handle. They thought technology alone made them superior, Sarah commented to Harrison as they watched alien troops retreat from yet another failed attempt to breach their defenses. They never understood that survival isn't about having the best tools. It's about knowing how to use whatever tools you have. In orbit, the alien fleet was in disarray. Their ships, designed for combat against equals or superiors in technology, had no protocols for dealing with an enemy that turned their own technological advantages against them. Earth's vessels pressed forward, their hybrid weapons becoming more effective as they learned from each engagement. The alien commander's next transmission carried a tone that no human had heard from them before: uncertainty. This is impossible. Your species was assessed as primitive. Your technology is inferior. Your methods are chaos. You measured our technology, Amara responded, but not our capability. You counted our ships, but not our resolve. You assessed our weapons, but not our will to survive. That was your mistake. The battle had become a lesson in humanity's greatest strength: the ability to adapt, to take technology designed for peace and turn it to defense, to find weaknesses in seemingly perfect systems and exploit them with ruthless efficiency. The aliens began to retreat, their perfect formation now broken, their superior technology compromised by dust and disruption, and human ingenuity. They had come expecting to find primitive beings ready for harvest and study. Instead, they found a species that had turned their own technological superiority into a weakness. As the alien ships withdrew from Mars orbit, Amara opened a channel to Gamma-7. Sarah, your resistance showed us their vulnerabilities. You proved that humanity doesn't need technological superiority to win. We just need to be human. The galaxy was about to learn a crucial lesson. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology, but its unlimited capacity to adapt, innovate, and overcome. The stars themselves would have to take notice. 1 month after the Battle of Mars, Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of the rebuilt Gamma-7 control room, watching a very different kind of alien ship descend from the rusty Martian sky. This vessel wasn't the liquid metal perfection of the invaders. It was crystalline, angular, and announced its arrival openly on all frequencies. Dr. Amara Santos had joined her on Mars for this historic moment. The Galactic Council's diplomatic fleet, she explained, though Sarah had already guessed. Apparently, our little victory caused quite a stir among the spacefaring civilizations. The alien ship landed with deliberate care, showing none of the arrogant confidence of the invaders. When its hatches opened, the delegates that emerged were a diverse group, some humanoid, others utterly alien in form. They all shared one thing: a newfound respect for the species that had defeated one of the galaxy's most technologically advanced civilizations. Welcome to Mars, Sarah greeted them in the station's meeting chamber. Though I hope this visit will be more peaceful than our last extraterrestrial encounter. The lead delegate, a tall being with iridescent skin, bowed slightly. We come seeking understanding, it said through a translation device. Your species has done something unprecedented in galactic history. You turned a technological disadvantage into victory not through superior firepower, but through adaptation and innovation. Amara stepped forward, data tablets ready. We've prepared detailed reports of the conflict, including our defensive strategies and countermeasures. We believe in transparency. The delegates exchanged glances, or whatever passed for glances among their varied species. That is, unusually forthcoming, another delegate commented. Most species guard their military secrets zealously. Sarah smiled. Those weren't military secrets. They were survival techniques, mining protocols, and industrial processes, all public knowledge, just used in ways nobody had considered before. That's what your invasion force failed to understand about humanity. We don't just use technology. We understand it, adapt it, and reimagine its potential. The delegates spent hours reviewing the battle data, particularly fascinated by how the Mars colonists had used simple mining equipment to disrupt advanced quantum systems. Each revelation seemed to both impress and unsettle them. "Your species presents us with a unique situation," the lead delegate finally announced. "The Galactic Council traditionally classifies civilizations by their technological advancement. But you have demonstrated that such classifications are inadequate." "Technology isn't everything," Amara replied. "Humanity's greatest strength is our ability to innovate, to find solutions where none seem possible. We've been doing it since we first looked up at the stars and decided to reach them, despite having no natural ability to survive in space." The delegates conferred among themselves, their translation devices creating a subtle symphony of overlapping languages. Finally, the lead delegate turned back to the humans. "We come with an offer. The Galactic Council extends an invitation not just for diplomatic relations, but for cultural and scientific exchange. Many species now wish to understand how you think, how you adapt, how you turn simple tools into extraordinary solutions." Sarah and Amara shared a knowing look. This was more than just diplomatic recognition. It was an acknowledgement that humanity had something unique to offer the galaxy. "We accept," Sarah responded, "on one condition. Exchange must go both ways. We want to learn from other species, but we also want them to learn from us. Not just our technology or our tactics, but our way of thinking, our drive to explore and understand." The lead delegate's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. "That is precisely why we are here. Your victory showed us that true advancement comes not from having the most sophisticated technology, but from having the wisdom and creativity to use whatever tools are available." As the diplomatic discussions continued, Sarah took a moment to look out at the Martian landscape. The same harsh environment that had forced humanity to become resourceful and adaptable had now helped them earn their place among the stars. They had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their tools or weapons, but in their boundless capacity to imagine new possibilities and their relentless determination to survive and thrive. The galaxy had indeed taken notice, not of humanity's technology, but of their potential. The stars that had once seemed so distant now beckoned with new opportunities, new challenges to overcome, new horizons to explore. Humanity had earned its place not through conquest or technological superiority, but through the very qualities that had allowed them to reach Mars in the first place: ingenuity, adaptability, and the unwavering courage to face the unknown. The next chapter in human history was beginning, and this time, they would face it not as a primitive species to be conquered, but as equals among the stars, ready to learn, to teach, and to show the galaxy that the human spirit knew no bounds.